What's going on, people? Top of the morning to y'all. Checking in with y'all today, finishing up the last leg of this run from New York to Wilmington, Illinois. Getting ready to drop off load of yogurt we grabbed up out of New York yesterday. I want to talk with y'all and recap my previous 4 weeks. 3 weeks in particular have been really, really strong. So let's get into it. 4 weeks ago, we were actually at home, so I don't even really need to include this in there. But anyways, we were at home. My trainee, him and his wife, their second son was born. So of course, we came home for that. Stayed home about 5 or 6 days, then we got right back to it. We left out the house, took a load to Ohio. From there, we picked up a load and ran out to Southern California. Came back from Southern California with a load up to Maine. And en route, we were able to swing by the house and actually stay home for about 36 hours and then leave out from home to deliver our load on time. From Maine, we went down to Ohio again, went from Ohio to Southern California, and from Southern California, we got a load that was going to Pennsylvania. So we stopped at the house, was able to spend about, I believe, like 28 hours at home before running up to Pennsylvania to deliver the two stops that load had. From Pennsylvania, we ended up in Ohio again, and we went from Ohio to Washington, delivered, grabbed the load from Washington that was coming back east to New York. So, same as the previous two loads, had plenty of time on it. We went home, we were home for 24 hours, then we left out and delivered that load up in New York yesterday, and then we picked up the load that we have now that we're getting ready to drop off. So that's been the previous 3 weeks, man. And to be able to get home every weekend over those previous 3 weeks for basically 28 to 34 hours, that in and of itself made it a very solid week, or a very solid couple weeks. But then factoring the money, as y'all heard, we pretty much did east to west, west to east runs. Those usually pay out pretty good. So the first week, my settlement was about a little over 4,000. The second week, which was just this past Friday, my settlement came in at 4,700, and it's currently Wednesday. So that previous pay cycle ended yesterday with the load to and from Washington, Ohio to Washington, Washington to New York. And don't have the official numbers in for the settlement, but the rule of thumb that I've been using, once I noticed a pattern, is that typically, or more times than not, the settlement comes in being about half of what the revenue was for that week. And that's what I tell all my trainees, and that's what I relay to anybody that's reached out to me for advice or information about leasing with Prime, how things work, what to expect. That's something I always mention. That fluctuates. It can be higher than, or it can be less than. That depends on primarily the fuel. How much money you spend on fuel, which can be impacted by the terrain you're driving on. For example, the first two loads, or the first two runs we had, Ohio to California, Southern California twice, that we were running across 40. So 40 is pretty flat, pretty easy terrain to travel. And we did that twice. So the fuel was pretty low that week. The loads weren't heavy for one, and then like I said, 40 is flat for the most part. The run we had last week from Ohio to Washington, and then Washington back to New York, we had to deal with some mountains. But luckily for us, the load we took over was about 7,000 pounds, really light. And the load we bought back was about 28,000, so that wasn't too heavy. So even though we dealt with the mountains, fuel probably for this past week wasn't too high. And then tolls is the other variable in that. So considering those things as well, that's why I usually say it's plus or minus $500 as far as the settlement being half of what the revenue is. So using this previous week for an example, the truck made $11,600. I'm expecting about $5,500. That's potentially on the low end. It could be closer to $6,000, but I'm expecting about $5,500. So we can plus or minus 5 on that. I don't think it'll be much lower than 53. So the range is really anywhere from probably 53 to 6, or 58, shall we say. So taking that into consideration, 4,000 the first week we left out of the house, 4,700 the second week, and we'll just go with 5,500 for this pay cycle that just ended yesterday for my settlement that will come this coming Friday. 3-week run with a total of $14,000 earned before taxes, of course. Y'all should already know that by now. And being able to get home for 24 to 38 hours each of those weekends. It's been a nice little run the past couple weeks. And with that said, once we drop this load off, my trainee will have less than 2,000 miles left. It's currently Wednesday, so we should have his miles done potentially by Friday, but definitely by Saturday. We'll be getting him back to the terminal sometime between Saturday and Monday so he can go ahead and upgrade. He already has a situation lined up with one of his friends who's been here at Prime for several months. He's going to jump on the truck with his buddy. They're going to team, and he's supposed to be getting paid 50 cents for all the miles, so he'll be making out pretty good doing that. And from there, I'm going to do as I always do. Once I finish up with a trainee, get them back to the terminal, get them set up and situated for their upgrade process and everything. I get a load and I take my ass back home. So that's what I'll be doing. Next week I'll be taking about 5 to 7 days off. My son is also his school is out on spring break that week, so I'll be at the house, spending some time at home with the family, chilling out, taking care of some business though. Got some things I need to take care of, and then getting back to it after the break is up. Like I said, finishing up the home stretch of this lease, finishing that up strong. Currently got about 7 months left, so I definitely will be looking for another trainee. Don't currently have anybody lined up, but I do have a potential trainee. My current trainee has a friend that's going to be coming to Prime that I may bring aboard, but as of right now I don't have anybody, so we'll be looking for a trainee within the next 3 weeks. But with that said, man, just want to check in with y'all and speak about those previous 3 weeks, because like I said, they've been very, very solid weeks. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign on out. About 3 miles away from this this cold storage place, so let me get myself prepared to get rid of this and get ready for the next one. As always, appreciate y'all for checking in, watching the videos, rocking with your boy, and until next time, y'all know what it is. Y'all be easy.